You're welcome back to the show. This is GH Today. I am Serwaa Amihere. Let's have a conversation on real estate development. I'm joined in the studio by Dr. Daniel Moses. Good morning. You're welcome to the show.
Good morning.
So who's Dr. Daniel Moses?
Oh, well, Dr. Daniel Moses is some guy or an individual who immigrated from the shores of Africa over 20 years ago to the United Kingdom. And I began in real estate just about 8 years ago, and we started a company from managing properties for others to becoming a development company, and as well as becoming a sales acquisition expert, property consultant. And to be honest, I always love to use the word the property supermarket founder, because I solve all problems regards to real estate, because real estate is something that it's very huge, it's massive. There's so many avenues to generate income from real estate. And over the last 7 years, we became a household name in London, to be very precise. And we've gone not just doing property projects in London, but as well as expanding across the whole of United Kingdom. And also now looking back and saying, you know what we've done successfully in 7 years, how can Africa start to benefit from it? So on a nutshell, Dr. Daniel Moses is just someone who basically, just like every diasporan story, went through all the ups and downs of life, settling down after 20 years of living in a foreign country, and decided to look back and be part of what is happening in the shores of Africa.
Where are you originally from?
I'm born bred Nigerian,
okay.
Edo State, to be very precise. It's a city, a state very rich in culture. We the Edos usually say there are two kingdoms in the world, right? All right, the Benin Kingdom and the United Kingdom. And obviously
that's Benin.
That's
okay,
Benin.
Okay.
Yes. So yeah, from Edo State, Nigeria.
I see. So 8 years of doing this in someone else's country. You said that you've gone through the ups and downs, but that's not enough. Can you share the journey with us? How difficult or easy has it been? Yeah.
Oh, wow. Those stories of the ups and downs are usually very massive, and I usually will open up a statement and say, for where to go deep into it, we'll be here for a whole day. I've actually written 2 books. One of them is called The Test, and The Test is a book that I wrote basically sharing the struggles of going from the ordinary to the extraordinary, and sharing a lot of case studies learned. So way back, first 20 years ago, when I first immigrated to the UK, no brother, no sister, no auntie, nobody. I left university, and I just wanted a better life. I'm sure that's the dream of every young, star or young coming up youth who just wants a better life for themselves. At the time, over 20 years ago, I just wanted to do better, and I saw the shores of Nigeria not being where that's going to happen for me. So I found a way to live. And getting into a foreign land wasn't easy. When you get to England, you need immigration status, you need papers. I would call it. I love to call it the local term. So you're basically trying to settle. You're trying to do all sort of jobs. So I went to doing linear jobs, cleaning toilets, cleaning the streets, you name it. Any sort of linear jobs I did. And by 2011. I had successfully started, as a full entrepreneur. I set up multiple businesses, and I got to a place where I just did not see there was a headway of actually becoming a 7 or even building an 8-figure business. I relocated to Nigeria to start in oil and gas. And in 2015, I lost everything that I built. At that time, I built a business that was already worth, over £150,000 in cash profit. At that time in 2015, lost everything and had to go back to London again. Country that did work for me a little bit, but I wasn't where I needed to be. Again, going to UK now, having lost that business in Nigeria in 2015, I started driving as a taxi driver. I started driving as a taxi driver. Imagine building a business to £150,000. You're living well, and all of a sudden it's all gone. and going back to driving taxi and being looked down at, because being a taxi driver is not one of the easiest jobs. It's one of the jobs where people just generically look down on you. So I had to persevere through all of that. In 2017, I started in real estate, like I said, management. So I started managing other people's property. From managing other people's property, we went very quickly to growing, because I had now brought in the experience of what wasn't working, what exactly am I not doing right over the years, to 2017. By 2019, we had grew our portfolio to managing other people's property to at that time, over 20 properties on our portfolio, which was generating significant income. That gave me stability to quit my job as a taxi driver. And by 2019, I started raising private investors finance. I started borrowing money from friends, relatives, or friends who became relatives. Africans, when we start knowing a lot of other Africans, all of a sudden we become relatives, right? We call ourselves brother, sister, and all of that, even though we're not brotherly related. So by 2019, I started raising money from people, and that actually allowed me to start asset acquisition. So I started buying properties, and from buying properties in England, there is no lands like that. Though we have a lot of rundown properties. So we buy those kind of properties, we refurbish them, we put them back on the market for rents, and that would generate a rental income. By 2020, just during the pandemic, that buying of assets grew very, very quickly, because the experience and failures learned, allowed me to push really hard and forward. Whereas everyone else was being very scared about the pandemic, I basically grew my business to 7 figures during the pandemic. By the end of 2020, I had managed to grow my portfolio to over £2 million. And 2021, we just basically focused, just took advantage of this fact that people was not out. We was prepared to be out. We were prepared to take the risk, and we just continued to acquire assets. And on the back of that, I managed to create a club, called the Wealth and Business Club, where members, got education from myself. And then I wrote my first book. It got out, called Rent to Rent Made. It's how to get into property with little or no money. And I gradually became known, started winning awards, started getting a lot of recommendation. And by the end of 2021, started raising more money, and we raised over 1.5 million between 2021 to around about 2023. Late 2023, we went again to raise our second round, raising over 2.5 million as of today. And we became, rapidly became a name that is known across London. Now, one of the things I learned from all of this was that as an entrepreneur, not necessarily that you need money. All you need is a vision, and all you need is resilience. All you need to learn is that not every time you actually failed, meant that you failed. It just means you needed to learn. And as an African entrepreneur, this became something that I became very passionate about, and which kind of took me to that stage where I started to really share my wisdom. I started writing books, I started having podcasts, and literally started bringing a lot of Africans together. In the UK now, I am told to be one of the fastest known property entrepreneur in the space, where I'm giving a lot of information away. I'm showing case studies. I'm showing how to raise money. How do you leverage people? How do you leverage money? Because to be successful, you need to be able to leverage money, and you need to be able to leverage people, and as well as you need to leverage time. So that's just kind of a little bit of a background about what I do and who I am.
Okay, so let's talk about what you do, real estate.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the current trends in the United Kingdom when it comes to real estates that you think African investors can benefit or leverage on.
So the real estate industry in the UK, it's so vast that Africans, whether you live in the UK or whether you live outside of the shores of the UK, needs to leverage on. Now, the beauty about investing in real estate in the UK, if you need to buy a house in Ghana or Nigeria, where I'm originally from, if the house is worth £100,000, you have to find £100,000 in the first instance to acquire property, right? Otherwise, if you find a developer, the developer will give you about 5 years to pay £100,000 to own the asset. Whereas in the UK, if you need to buy a house for £100,000, all you needed is 10%. For somewhere that you need to live in. For an investment purpose, all you need is 25%. So a house that is worth £100,000, you only need £10,000 to buy the house to live there.
Okay.
And then that property starts to appreciate in value over a period of time. And you have a minimum 15 years to pay that loan back, or maximum 35 years to pay £100,000 back. So on a nutshell, it's not really soaking you in a certain way where you're left out with nothing, right? But in Africa, you have to find that money. You physically have to find £100,000 to acquire an asset. Now, with the cost of living in Africa, and again, looking at the cost of living in Europe, £100,000 is a lot of money, whether we like it or not, for the average working class individual. £100,000 or $100,000 is a lot of money. How many people are able to save that kind of money within times? Now, statistics in the UK market shows us that over the last 1,000 years, according to the property trends and the markets, that property tend to go up in value whether you do nothing to it every 10 to 15, 20 years. Now, in the UK, because we have that trend going on there, you can leverage once in a while without no human connection. You can actually open your computer, you can get a secured loan against your asset. Obviously, in Africa, to get a secured loan against your house, you need to know someone in the bank, right? There has to be some sort of level of relationship. So if you really look at it both ways, right, in terms of currency stability, in terms of access, the West has more very easier, platform of doing business. In Africa, it's still a bit very dicey, very difficult. So if you have a lot of money here, you can tap into making money in the West, in real estate, where you can leverage with others. Right. So for example, if citizenship is going to be a problem, you can leverage with a local who has a British passport and collaborate with them, and you can earn in Africa in a British market. If you're in the diaspora, if you're someone like me who wants to do property development in Ghana, you've got obviously exchange rate power. So, for example, if you turn your £100,000 and you bring it to Ghanaian cities, it's a lot of money. So, to be honest, right now it's such a great time to be African. I've recently traveled across Africa, and I see that a lot of companies are coming to Africa owned by the West. But if Africans, black people, can actually start coming together and understand the powers of coming together and creating their own economy, you take advantage of making money in the West, and as well as you bring that money back in Africa, and we create business for Africa, being used by Africa, houses being lived by African, and landlords being Africans. So it just kind of give you a very good overview of, being able to generate income in a Western community and as well as in an African community. So the market is literally limitless, absolutely limited in how you can make money, whether you're in the diaspora or whether you're in Africa and you want to invest in the market and in real estate. But before you actually do, you have to know, what you're doing. You have to spend time doing research, and as well as approaching people who have, what it takes, so that you don't make the wrong decisions.
So how can Ghanaian investors then directly benefit from, some of these measures, especially in the United Kingdom? And, there's the currency issue that you talk about. Yeah. And then even it's a very huge risk to take, especially when you don't live there. Yeah. And you said that you need papers, for the want of a better word, to be able to acquire certain properties. Yeah. How do they do it? How do you advise them to leverage on it?
We live in an information age these days, right? Information age meaning that everything you're looking for these days is the internet. 20 years ago, when I first left the shores of Nigeria to go to Europe, or United Kingdom to be very precise, there wasn't a lot of information out there. In fact, when I left 20 years ago, I did not know anybody. A lot of people traveling to the West these days know someone, or know someone that knows someone. So already you have internet, you know someone that knows someone. So the information.
Trust them.
Well, to trust people these days is very easy. It's very easy to trust anybody.
Is it?
The reason why it's so easy to trust anybody, especially in a Western community, like there's law, there's order in the West. Obviously, Africa, yes, we still have the gray areas where you can't verify information. I was recently in Rwanda, and I saw that if you break the law in Rwanda, you're going to go to jail. If you drive above a certain limit, you're going to get fined. If you drink and you drive, you're going to spend at least a minimum of a week in jail. If only the entire Africa, Ghana, Nigeria can adapt those rule of law, So if I'm in the West and I'm looking to do business in Ghana, I'm looking to do business in Nigeria, and I know if someone was to defraud myself, they will be sent to prison. You will do business because the law would be upheld. In the UK, it's almost impossible for that to happen if you do your due diligence correctly and you go for the appropriate channels. If someone dupes you or takes money from you, they will be sent to prison, and that is the truth. So if you do your due diligence correctly and you follow the appropriate channels, yes, it's absolutely possible to do business across borders. And part of the reason why, I'm here to speak on the African Diaspora Conference. And
when is it?
It's happening today.
Oh.
It's starting today and until tomorrow. And part of the awareness that we're actually bringing across Africa, that actually is very possible to do business cross-border, but again, dealing with the right people, doing your due diligence correctly, and knowing the company that you're dealing with. Informations are out there. Anybody can Google me and find things about my business, about what I do. These days they say Google is basically your best friend, right? It tells you everything about a particular organization, whether I've been an estate agent, whether I've been a lawyer, whether being any sort of bar status that you need to function as a business owner. So the information is out there. People are quick to post things on social media these days. So it's become very easier to dig information about people that you want to do business with.
Okay. How can people contact you if they need any form of help in investing in property in the UK?
So whether you're looking to invest in property in the UK, my information is out there. Just Google my name, Dr. Daniel Moses on Google. You find a bunch of information about me, and as well as I am very active on social medias across all different platforms, and my contact details is literally out there as well. So if people Google me, they'll be able to find out those information on my website, which is available.
What's your website?
The website is www.propertywealthcorp.com.
Property Wealth.
Wealth, yeah, to be wealthy, WEALTH, corp,
Okay.
CORP.com.
And what are your social media handles? Was you say
Just
you're
my
active?
name. Just my name, Dr. Daniel Moses.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is this your first time in Ghana?
My second time in the last 4 months. I was here a couple of months ago to speak on a leadership conference. This time around, I'm here to talk on real estate.
Okay. At the African Diaspora
Absolutely.
Conference. Why should people come and listen to you?
People should come and not just listen to me, and listen to all the most amazing speakers who have been lined up to speak at this conference. Like I said, it's about time that Africans learn to do business cross-border, right? And this is a room that's going to be full of credible people, genuine people, people that you can do business with, all right, and can forge relationship with. Whether you're looking to do business in the UK and you don't think you have the appropriate paperwork that is needed, this is a room that you can meet a lot of people that you can partner with, you can collaborate with. And as well as those of us who are looking to expand our businesses into Africa, these are rooms where we can be in, and we can also meet other Ghanaians, and we can obviously form relationship to begin doing business together.
Okay. Thank you very much for coming on the show, Dr. Daniel Moses. He is a UK property investor. He's also an author. You said you have 2 books.
Absolutely.
One is on what? Test?
One is called The Test, and the other is called Rent to Rent, How to Get into Property with Little or No Money.
Okay. Thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Enjoy your conference, and we wish you the very best.